people talk about Linsanity, and they know that. They know who you are, but globally, you're a cultural icon. Or throughout Asia, like that's a lot of weight to wear on your shoulders. You know what I mean? Like, if anybody doesn't know, if you like, it's chaos if this cat was walking down the street, you know, in Asia, in different parts of Asia. But I'm just wondering, did you feel a sense of like responsibility or weight, or like, man, this is a burden? Or how did you feel? How did you navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, you know, I felt so much weight that I had so much anxiety that I couldn't eat or sleep properly. And, you know, I struggled with that, and I'm talking like, I mean, it was killing me at some points, and I'd be in tears before games. I'd be crawled up, like no energy, just in a fetal position in bed, like couldn't even get out of bed, just crippled with that anxiety because I felt the weight of it. And even for me, through my career, even when things didn't go well, I always felt like I was letting people down. And I think that, and then I'll question myself. I ask myself, you know, well, you know, I made all this history, you know, first Asian American to do this or that or whatever, first Harvard player, da 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 da. And it was like, there were all these records and these things, but at the end of the day, I felt like I didn't deserve it because, you know, I felt like I had let so many people down. And I think, you know, one of the most freeing things and restorative things for me was to let go of the result, and almost like let go of the result even before you know what's going to happen to some degree, right? Like, it's like, hey, I'm on this journey and I can find success in a journey today, here, right now, in the present. And if I can learn how to do that, and if I can learn really how to be like, to embrace and cherish each day, each moment, I mean, that is tremendous success. And again, it's almost like what ends up happening down the road, it's not going to kill me one way or the other if I have my priorities right. And I think about like these young, you know, I hear stories of these young couples, especially, you know, coming from immigrant parents, and these young couples who are just completely in love, and they're like, you know, and they, you know, for example, my parents, when they first got married, they had to go fish at a dam, and that's how they ate because they didn't have any money. And so they would fish, and they would go once every 2 weeks and get all these fish. And I'm like, man, but in the moment they were so in love and they enjoyed life. And yeah, they didn't have the perfect house, they didn't have the cars, they didn't have all their degrees yet, they didn't have their children. But in that moment, they were so happy with what they had. And it's like, that's how I want to live my life, no matter where I'm at or what I'm going through. It's like, if I can find that joy in that moment, I feel like that will allow me to alleviate the pressures and the weights of what everyone else is thinking, even the pressures that I put on myself. And that to me has been one of the most restorative things, because, you know, right now I'm going for my NBA comeback. And what is nice about it is that, like, I don't feel the weight of, I mean, I do feel the weight, but it's not crushing me like it used to, in terms of like, if I don't do this, then so-and-so won't like me anymore. If I don't do this, then my followers will go down or whatever. It's like, I'm able to free myself of that. And there's a liberation that comes with that gives me a lightness in my everyday. So instead of me stressing out and being in the gym, I mean, I was in the gym all morning, but instead, like, I can sit here and talk about it with you openly and be okay talking about it right now. But like, and that's how, you know, it's like, okay, it probably isn't weighing on me the way that these things used to weigh on me.
That's good. Oh my goodness, that's good, bro. You talked about the anxiety. You talked about you know, the tension and the stress weighing on you. How, like, as you're navigating all this stuff, you talked about, oh man, I'm working on my comeback, and I'm working out in the gym, and I'm thinking about this, and I got this going on. Like, where does your faith, how does your faith inform how you're navigating all this stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. And before I get into that, I just saw a comment like a minute ago, and the guy said, I almost committed suicide today. And I don't know if that was joking or not. I don't know if you're joking or not, but it honestly, when you talk about music, I'll Find You, which is one of the crazy songs, was like really, really powerful to a lot of people that I know. And so to the dude who left that comment, I don't know if you're for real or you're like, if you're actually going through something, I would definitely encourage you to look that song up. Yeah, for me, one thing that I've been trying to do a little bit more of recently is this concept of listening to God. And I feel like when I pray or when I do my devotionals, like I'm just praying the whole time. And I remember reading a book, and it was like, hey, if you're, you know, in the book, one of the books I read is called Two Chairs, and it was talking about, hey, when you come before God and you have a devotional, if you're talking the whole time, you can't ever listen. And so for me, like, that was a big reminder to me, is like, hey, as I try to navigate and make life's decisions, it's not just like I sit down with God and I just talk the whole time and then I'm like, all right, cool, you heard all that, all right, good, I'm gonna go about my day. It's not that. It's that you have to open yourself up. And again, that's why I think it's important to do things like Sabbath. It's important to, during your devotional, where you spend time where you're just quiet and you're not talking or praying or doing something, and you're letting God speak to you. And that often happens. I don't hear an audible voice, but sometimes he may give me a scripture, he may give me a conversation with a Christian friend, or he may give me one of my devotional emails, or something like that, or lyrics from a song. And like all these different things, I feel like they put convictions in my heart. And one of the things that one of my friends said that I absolutely love is God is a God of peace. He's not a God of confusion. So as you try to navigate your own life, as you try to make big time decisions, it's like, if you're praying about it and you're letting God work through you, you will have peace about the decision that you make. And that is a huge part of it too. And that's something that, but if you're not doing that and you're just making decisions without really seeking God's counsel, then, don't expect the peace, and don't expect, the things that come with, really opening yourself up to listen to God. And so that's something that I would encourage everybody with.
The man is dropping gems, y'all. Dropping all of the gems. You represent so much more than like, your career highlight reel. You know what I mean? Like, you represent so much more. For me personally, I just personally think of like, wow, I never would have imagined that, the music that I would make or the things that I would say would touch people in these different spheres of influence. You know what I mean? And then it's one thing when people are like, man, I really like this song, or I really appreciate this song. It's another thing when your music is a soundtrack to people's lives. Like, you're living it. You know what I mean? You're really like trying to follow the Lord and trying to navigate mental, emotional, spiritual health in all these facets of your life. And there's a lot of tension and a lot of pressure. So one, I just want to thank you, man. I want to let you know how much I appreciate you. And I'm very grateful for what you represent, and your honesty and your transparency is very helpful. I guess the last thing I just would want people to know, first of all, if you didn't know, Jeremy blessed me with his time. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about restoration. The book comes out October 13th. I Am Restored: How I Lost My Religion and Found My Faith. And man, he's been so kind and gracious to share with us some of his restoration journey. What I'm like, last thing I'm just curious to know, and I'm sure everybody else out there will want to know as well, man, is,
growing up, my parents did so much for me, and they're amazing. And sometimes I would be like, Mom, I just want to sit down and spend time with you versus have you be doing something for me all the time. And she definitely, did that at times. And those were when I felt really connected. But I think that's the same thing with God, is like, actually, dude, I was just thinking about this today, literally like an hour and a half after my workout. And I was like, thinking about like, okay, my job is to play basketball and I want to build God's kingdom, or I want to be, make this world a better place. But at the end of the day, like, your occupation, is it that important? And I think about like a lot of the characters in the Bible, and you look at some of the disciples, you look at Paul, you look at even Jesus himself, like they had jobs, carpenter, fisherman, whatever. But like at the end of the day, because they opened their lives to let God do amazing things through their life, it was almost as if the occupation was a footnote. And it was like, they did amazing things. Oh yeah, and they were also one was a fisherman, one was a carpenter, one was this, one was that. And I think, like, for me, it's like, so when what does that mean? It's like, if I go through my whole day and all I'm thinking about is like, what can God do for me? What can God do for me? Like, how can God bless me? How can God make my training great. How can God make my next opportunity the one that I want? Like, that's even though, like, for me, I might be thinking like, oh, I want to do things for you, God, but at the end of the day, I'm still kind of missing the point. And I think the point is, it's not about what God can do for me. It's not about even always like the things I can do for God. Work. It's actually sometimes it's more just opening yourself to God in that relationship, and always challenging myself to really just be content in the relationship, like love the relationship. And I think when I do that, like, the end result or the circumstances aren't as important. But the one thing that I can promise is, when I open myself up every single time to God in relationship, he does amazing things. And it's hardly ever what I anticipate. It's hardly ever what I'm even thinking about, but he does amazing things. But it starts from a place of like, hey, I'm not coming in and telling God what needs to happen. It's not like X, Y, Z. Like, I need it to look like this, and this. Yeah. And so again, I think it's like, for sure, our job is to do things for God and things like that. But I think at the end of the day, and that goes into, that's why I love the theme. Like, dude, when I heard, like, whether it's your album or the book, or even the thing, dude, I saw the plan on YouVersion. Dude, that's tight. And I'm about to do that. Like, for real. I'm not even like,
come on, bro.
Smoke, or I'm not saying, like, I'm actually going to do that. That's the next one. Once I finish this next plan, is I'm going to go do the restoration plan on YouVersion. But to me, it's like, restoration is such a big word, because in order to be restored, it almost forces you to stop, rest. It forces you to not be in a hurry, and it allows you to really delve into just the relationship with God. And that is what is going to be like that's going to be what the game changer is. And so, going back to your question, it's not always going to be like, oh, I need to do this and then fill my schedule packed, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, bro. You dropping gems, bro. When you writing a book, my goodness. The footnote, I'm like, oh, occupational footnote. That's so good, bro. Man, I'm extremely grateful, proud of my man, Jeremy Lin. Thank you for the time. I can't pen the book because I don't know how to pen, but I'll figure it out. I'm going to go watch a YouTube video to make sure I learn how to do it. I feel like, yo, man, I know how to do other stuff. I don't know how to pen comments. But thank you, bro. I appreciate everything, man.
Anytime.
I can't wait. Man. Much love to you.
All right, love you too. Later.